Is that right?
Yep. Good morning.
Morning. And who are you representing here today?
Meals on Wheels, Southwest Ohio, Northern Kentucky.
Okay, great. Welcome. Um, Doug Westy. Is it Westy?
Woosty, but yeah, Doug Woosty here with the
Westy.
Kleingers Group, civil
All right.
engineer on the
Welcome.
project.
Welcome back, Doug. Sorry, I'll remember that pronunciation one day, I'm sure. Uh, and our zoning plans examiner, Matt Lascheid, is also here. Welcome, Matt.
Hey, good morning, David. Thank you.
All right. Doug and Forrest, are you expecting anyone else to join us before we get started?
Nope.
Okay, great. Let's go ahead and do it. I'm going to read through our hearing script. This will basically just cover the procedure for the hearing, and then we'll get into it. So this is the January 10th, 2024 session of the zoning hearing examiner docket. The case before us today is case number ZH20230182. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and any potential opposing parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the zoning hearing examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any potential opposing party wishes to offer, excuse me, must be presented at this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. If there were anyone here from the public, they'd have an opportunity to speak after the applicant had presented its case. I'll hear from the zoning department for any testimony in addition to their staff report. In the event that any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to this application, the applicant will have an opportunity to respond to that testimony that was offered in opposition. And then finally, the applicant will have an opportunity to make any closing statements. After all presentations have been made, I will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or to make any comments. In the event of any technical difficulties with the Zoom technology, I'll do my best to troubleshoot those on the fly. But to the extent there is some defect that prevents us from meaningfully going forward with this hearing, I may continue or postpone the hearing at my discretion. Okay, last thing I need to do is just swear in all of our witnesses. If you intend on providing any testimony here today, the zoning code requires that I swear you in. So if that's you, if you could make sure that you're off mute, I need everyone to raise their right hand and to answer out loud. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Okay, great. Thanks, everyone. All right, who's going to be taking the lead here on tell me about the project? Forrest or Doug?
Doug, do you have a preference? I can.
Yeah, Forrest, you might want to take the lead. I guess this is describing the need and what you're doing here, and then I can talk through any site-related things.
Sure. All right, David. So we're a nonprofit organization that serves 13 counties, Kentucky and Ohio. And we serve primarily, I would say 99% are 60 and older in our community. And we have most of our contracts with Council on Aging in Ohio and NCAD in Kentucky. The growth over the last 2 years following the pandemic has been extensive. There have also been a number of agencies that have closed over the last year, and we have been doing everything that we can to take care of those clients and satisfy the council's need on addressing those growing demands. We reached our freezer capacity some time ago, and this is an effort to give us a good solution that's affordable, that's going to allow us to meet the needs of the seniors and probably well into the next 2 years. We do have a new facility we just purchased. We do expect the growth to continue. And this is kind of a stopgap to help us as we design the new facility, which is over around Norwood area on Highland Avenue. But we have an immediate need to do this so that we don't have an interruption in service.
Okay. I'm pulling up the site plans now, but this is a variance to locate a cold storage unit in a technical front yard. Where exactly, sort of geographically, is that storage unit going to be located?
Are you familiar with Radcliff?
I'm familiar with the site, the general
site.
Yeah.
So we have a dock and an overhead door just right next to each other. This would be the site is actually right next to that. There's a transformer just at the corner of the building where the dock is, and this site would be essentially separate from the building, but very close, like maybe 30 feet.
Gotcha. Okay. And can you tell me more about the actual structure that's going to go
Yeah.
on?
Sure. So these are cold storage containers, refrigerated or frozen down to, I think, minus 20 degrees. They are fully self-contained, like the freezer component, the refrigerant component is all built into the shipping container. This is essentially what goes on to freighters as they traverse the oceans and need to maintain a below zero temperature, and that's they're an abundant supply here. So we're picking up a couple of those to help us cover that gap that we need.
Okay.
But they are just shipping containers. It's a shipping container with a freezer module attached to it.
Gotcha. Okay. Anything else you'd like to tell me now?
Nope.
Doug?
Yeah, I think Forrest hit most of it. I think the only thing I would add is just geographically, this is kind of that hill that's south of South Fairmount area, if you're familiar with that neighborhood. And it's really just a space consideration thing where we're being on the top of the hill, the perimeter of the parking lot, the topography drops off pretty significantly around the perimeter of the parking lot. So that's why this location is ultimately being looked at. And in addition to some other things with the building proximity, it's mainly one of the only areas really where you could fit an item of this size and without significant cost burden as far as like walls or anything like that. So that is the reason why we're looking at this particular location on the site.
Gotcha. And will the storage be adjacent to any other adjacent buildings or properties? Any adverse impacts you can think of here? That's the either Forrest or Doug.
Okay. Yeah. The only structure that's probably going to be impacted is a shed. That's not attached to our building. It's on a concrete pad, but there's no power to the shed. It's just storage. They'll probably moved or removed. So.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Unless there's anything else, I'll turn it over to Matt. Matt?
Hey, sure. So yeah, it's a variance to allow an accessory structure in a front yard. The zoning code only allows accessory structures in the rear yard. Any part where it abuts a street is considered a front yard, or I guess our code calls it a corner side yard. But you wouldn't be allowed to have a accessory structure anywhere on this property following that requirement because there's streets on two sides. So it's either a front yard or a side yard. It's not really a backyard anywhere that you could legally put an accessory structure. So with that in mind, a variance would be needed to put any building like this anywhere on the property. And then we look at, okay, where on the property is a reasonable place for it, that it's not going to have any negative impact on adjacent property owners, not ideally somewhere that would be very visible. And, looking at this property, it's on the top of a wooded hill. I don't think anyone would be driving past it except people that are going to this building. Nobody would see it. There's trees all around. The only thing near it, like Forrest said, is a shed, and there's a phone or an internet tower there. But I mean, other than that, it's wooded on a hill where nobody would see it at all. So a variance would be needed to place any building like this, and the location that they've chosen is appropriate. With that, staff recommends approval.
Okay, great. Anything else from Forrest or Doug before we adjourn here today? Okay.
Nope.
We'll leave it at that. I've had a chance to review the application materials. I am familiar with this site. I think there's another development that I did recently up here, so I've been up here several times. I think it would be impractical to strictly enforce the zoning code to this application. So based on that, based on the testimony that I've heard, and based on the application materials and the staff report, I'm going to approve the application. I need to formalize that approval in a written decision. Doug is familiar with this process. That typically takes about 2 weeks. As soon as I finish that decision, I put it in a PDF. I email it to everybody in the hearing here today, so you all have a copy of it really just moments after it's complete. And as soon as you have that, then Matt can okay the permitting on his side for the zoning, and hopefully you can move forward at that point. Any questions about anything? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Have a great day. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And good luck with the project.
Thank you.
David, thank you, Matt.